The presidential election is coming. Should you be worried about the real estate market because of it? Welcome to the Orlando Real Estate Lifestyle, where we explore the intersection of Orlando real estate and your best life. I'm your host, Phil Kruse, here to help you make the most out of your journey right here in the city beautiful. I recently had a client tell me, Phil, I'm just going to wait and see what's going to happen with the election before I decide to move forward with the purchase of my home. And I'm thinking to myself, wait to see what? And that gets us into what we're going to be talking about today, how presidential elections can and will affect residential real estate in the past and what we can expect looking forward. So, what does it do to the real estate market as we lead up to the election? What does it do after? Okay. Do we need to be concerned about future policies? How does the stock market ebb and flow with the election process? And how does that affect real estate markets? And how does the rhetoric and what we hear from the presidential candidates, how can that actually be used to your advantage if you are a savvy investor or just somebody who does want to take advantage of the real estate market and look past and look through all the noise? Of course, before we get started, I am a real estate agent, and one of my main lead sources are listeners and viewers like you. So when it's your time to make a major real estate decision in Orlando, think of me, Phil Kruse. That's Kruse with a K, Kruse. Remember, a portion of all my real estate commissions go to charity, either a charity of your choosing. And if you don't have a charity that you're passionate about, you can choose to allow me to donate to my charity that I work with, the New Image Youth Center. I mentor there every week during the Orange County school year. I just had my first mentoring session yesterday with my small group of underprivileged kids from the Paramore area of downtown Orlando. It's amazing. I'm a listing specialist. I can help your home sell at the highest price and not just the highest price, but also at the fastest and least stress way possible. I have a whole podcast episode dedicated to that called about the auction effect. So I can unpack that for you when you're on the podcast platform looking for that episode. Check out the episode description, the podcast description. You'll see my cell phone number. Text me. It's all good. We'll jump on for a meeting. And while you're there, like and subscribe. Give me a 5-star review. It really does help me out. And you'll get a notification either on YouTube or on your Spotify or Apple Podcasts every Monday when I drop new episodes. Moving on. Anger boils over as you watch a debate or you yell at your parents over a family dinner. Look, relationships can be changed or even damaged over politics. But what about the real estate market? Public perception over elections is really what drives all this hullabaloo about real estate, and why my friend even said, my client and friend even said, Phil, I'm going to wait until after the election to see what happens. Public perception is that a presidential election year, especially as we get closer to November to election day, I think that it's gonna do something. It's gonna do something to our economy. It's gonna do something to the real estate market. And in reality, and ironically, it doesn't. The election doesn't change anything for real estate. It's the public perception in and of itself that changes the real estate market. Now you have some people that were thinking about buying or thinking about selling that said, I'm going to take the wait and see approach. That is the only way the real estate market is truly affected from a buyer and seller perspective. Is there really any change? Is there really any measurable change leading up to election day? A study done by realtor.com says that there is a slight dip, meaning a slight decrease in actual transactions and actual home sales. But that wears off quickly. And after the new president gets elected, whoever he or she may be, it goes back to normal. And there is really no long-term effect in the real estate market. For me, if anything, it presents an opportunity, because if you are looking to sell your house and you list your home for sale, you're going to be going up against maybe slightly less people listing their homes because they're doing the wait and see approach. You're not. You're going to sell. You're going to buy. And guess what? Most people have to sell when they want to sell. Most people have to buy because they want to buy. So if you're not ready, that's fine. But if you're ready, you don't need to hesitate. What about interest rates? Now, this is interesting. Some people think that our government is rigging things and that the interest rates are all tied to whoever is in the office of the president. And there's conspiracy theories about that. And I'm just here to tell you that that's not the case. All right. Our Federal Reserve Bank is disconnected from our United States government. Now, some people might say, Phil, that's impossible, even though he is appointed by the president, but doesn't receive any policy tips or notes or anything from the president, that he's a human being and he can't be swayed by his political slants. While that might be true, generally speaking, they are simply making monetary decisions based on economic factors like inflation, unemployment, and all these various other macroeconomic metrics that are over my head. You might be sitting there thinking, well, what's happening right now? The federal Chairman Powell, just recently came out and said he's going to be, or they are going to be lowering interest rates. Is that because of the presidential election coming up? No, it's because inflation is under control. So he wants to not have our economy cool too much. We got to lower the interest rates, balance things out. It's a big balancing act for economics. So you don't need to imagine that interest rates are changing because of the run up to the presidential election. It's based on economic policy. What about the stock market? There's fear or there's joy in the stock market, depending on who they think is going to win the election and or who actually wins the election, and the different policies that the stock market and Wall Street speculates they're going to enact after the election. The stock market is essentially educated gambling, right? It has huge ebbs and flows, huge swings. If one candidate that they perceive is going to be great for the economy, or in really not the economy, but great for the stock market, because they're two separate things, great for corporate America, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how good you're doing, it matters how good the corporations are doing, which drives the stock prices. So they're looking for who they think is going to have the best uh, future forecast of how the corporations are going to do to to decide if the stock market, basically, if they're going to be buying or selling, have a bear or a bull market. The housing market, the residential real estate market, is much more stable. It is impossible for it to turn quickly in the way that the stock market does. You can't have a massive price crash, a price increase in real estate the way you can in the stock market. Nowadays, the stock market is connected to all kinds of trading algorithms, AI, all kinds of parameters are set up to automatically buy and sell. And then you can have huge run-ups or huge sell-offs in real time, almost instantaneously do this stuff. Housing is more stable. So even if you see the stock market go up or the stock market go down, running up to the election, that's not going to affect home prices. What it will affect potentially is consumer confidence. And that's really what this is all boiling down to, is it's about human perception, as I said before. And consumer confidence is that. If the average person is generally bullish or optimistic about our economy, they're more likely to buy a home. They're more likely to think that they're going to get top dollar when they sell their home. Those two factors are going to create a more robust real estate market in the sense of more transactions. You know what it's also going to lead to? It's also going to lead to prices going up. Okay. So a lot of this stuff is natural, ebb and flow. This is the kind of stuff that happens every year based on all kinds of different economic factors, not just because of an election year, not just because of the stock market. But when you watch that stock market either go up or go down as we approach election day and shortly thereafter, know that that is not directly connected to the real estate market. If you want to buy or sell, you should be doing it for all the same reasons people always want to buy or sell: a major life change, a baby on the way, a divorce, a job relocation, a job change, something like that. Now, are you worried that if your candidate loses, the country is going to fall apart? Or maybe just the economy is going to be in tatters? Or maybe the housing market is going to tank? Look, per Freddie Mac, which is one of the leading agencies that tracks real estate in the United States, there's no data at all supporting any long-term effects to the real estate market or real estate prices due to elections. It's always based on economic factors. Let's look at what's going on right here in Orlando. People keep talking, hey, Phil, how's that real estate market looking? It's cooled off, hasn't it? And I said, well, certainly transactions have gone down. The number of homes being sold has gone down, but home prices still go up. We're at a median home price now of $370,000 per home being sold. Now, in other neighborhoods like Winter Park, Winter Garden, you're up over 700,000. Okay. So the prices are still going up. There's just less people selling and less people buying. But those people buying and selling are still being married together. And there's so many people in Orlando buying and selling that it's almost irrelevant. Our numbers are still so high volume wise that the fact that it's still less transactions doesn't mean that the real estate market is going away or slowing. And that's what you can expect with the long-term effects of the election. We might have a blip on the radar, but there's thousands of people moving to the state of Florida every day, literally. Orlando is the biggest of all the cities in the state of Florida relative to growth. All the people that are moving to Florida, most of them, or not most of them, but the city attracting the most of those people is Orlando. So the economic factors are what's driving the long-term real estate, specifically supply and demand. We still have a lot of demand, as I just alluded to, with all the people coming in and all the people already living here, and we don't have enough supply. The builders can't keep up. And if anyone out there that sold their home recently, if you had a nice, fully renovated home in a good neighborhood, you probably had a bidding war. Something that I talked about a couple podcast episodes, and you better a couple podcast episodes ago, and you better believe if the interest rates do go down, like Chairman Powell has alluded to, you're going to see a lot more bidding wars, even on less high quality homes. Other economic factors that come into play are the amount of money in people's savings accounts in general. All right. Therefore, how comfortable do they feel and how much money do they have ready to deploy into the real estate market when they do feel like it's a good real estate market? When consumer confidence shifts, when interest rates go down, that money is going to come out of people's savings accounts and be deployed into our economy in a big way through real estate. And of course, also jobs reports, unemployment, and important regulations that either loosen the rules or tighten the rules that can make real estate purchasing easier or harder. Right now, I think our regulations are in a great spot where it's at the perfect line of it's still difficult to qualify for a loan, but not impossible. And so therefore, people that are truly qualified are the ones getting loans. And we don't have a real estate market built upon the falsehoods of all these fake loans like we had back in 2008. Okay. Consumer confidence, elections, the economy. How do you take advantage of all this stuff? If you're like me and you can rise above the noise and you can see the forest for the trees, you could take advantage of all this. Like I said before, there might be less buyers coming out there and looking. All right. Well, that means there's less buyers looking for homes that have been sitting on the market for a long time that need to be fully renovated. Right? There might be an opportunity for a savvy investor out there to continue to take advantage of this market before the interest rates go down. And during the election cycle where consumer confidence is a little bit shaken, you can go out there and get yourself a deal. Another way you could take advantage of the election cycle, the presidential election cycle, is pay attention. Pay attention to what the candidates are saying. Now, I know we all like to say they're lying, right? The stuff that they say during their campaign speeches, half the times they don't do. Maybe that's true. Maybe that's Congress's fault. It's always so many factors involved. Point being is you can find out it and anticipate policies that are going to come down that maybe create something like opportunity zones like we have here in the state of Florida. Areas where you can buy and redevelop and you get tax incentives or you don't have to pay taxes. There might be programs that the federal government is stating through the presidential candidate is stating that, hey, we're going to offer all kinds of grant money to the states for the states to figure out how to distribute towards low-income housing, affordable housing, rent breaks, tax incentives. Okay. So a savvy property developer or a savvy homeowner might be thinking about that and understand about new programs relative to loans. Okay. Like an FHA loan didn't just come out of nowhere. It came from a federal government policy. The VA loans came from a federal government policy. The Hometowns Heroes program, which now in the state of Florida, anybody can qualify for if you're a first-time home buyer. These are loan packages where you can pay little to no closing costs or no down payment, I should say, and you can get a dramatically reduced or government subsidized interest rate. Sometimes you have to pay that interest rate back. Sometimes you don't. So if you pay attention to the policies being discussed by the presidential candidates, you might be able to take advantage of that. And speaking of that, when somebody does get elected, it's going to be a new president, all right? we can guarantee that. Maybe one who was already president once or a brand new president, but either way, it's going to be a new president relative to who we have in today. You better believe they're going to want to put their stamp on this country, and they're going to be enacting or trying to enact policy. When a policy is enacted that may affect our economy directly, like they really all do, or specifically one that's targeted towards real estate, does it happen right away? Right? Even if it gets voted on by Congress or whatever, and it's or an executive order, does it really take effect right away? No, it takes years for that to happen. So even if we're making decisions based on policy or what we perceive to happen to our economy, you have to understand and remember, based on history, that the government works slow. Anything you've ever done associated with the local government, or if you've ever had to deal with the federal government, with IRS and stuff, things take forever. So pack your patience. And just because there is a policy that you find either positive or negative, don't have a knee-jerk reaction, because things are going to take a long time to be unpacked. And oftentimes the policies get tweaked or changed over the enactment period. And what you thought it was going to be isn't actually what it's going to be at all. So are you still worried about real estate and the presidential election cycle? If you've been paying attention, hopefully you won't be. If you need to sell or you need to buy, take the election cycle out of your mind, move it to the side, and be focusing on the economy, focus on interest rates, and talk to a real estate professional like myself who can help guide you through the process. Remember, I'm a listing specialist. I can help you figure all this out. I can help you sell your house at the highest price, but not just at the highest price, but also the fastest way in one quick weekend of showings using the auction effect. And don't forget, a portion of all my commissions go to charity, either charity of your choosing or to the New Image Youth Center. If you like this sort of real estate focused content, jump on my podcast. About every other episode I publish is about real estate, whether it's broad-based like this or whether it's Orlando specific. I also interview local business leaders, innovators. I just interviewed a 24-year-old entrepreneur who just got awarded a $5 million grant to help his company grow right here in Orlando. It's exciting time. So like and subscribe on YouTube or on Spotify so you get notifications every Monday when a new episode releases. And find me on social media @_ Phil Kruse. Again, that's Kruse with a K, Kruse. Just plot me in Google, put Orlando, put real estate at the end. You're going to find me. You're going to find my website with my blogs. You're going to find my newsletter where I update you every single Friday about what's going on in Orlando, weekend events, things I love to do and have going on. So it's a lot of fun. I love Orlando. Orlando is the best city in the country. I'm so glad you're here and enjoying Orlando. And always know that your best life in Orlando is within reach. Keep embracing every moment. Cheers.